Hope y'all are having an fantastic evening. We are seeming to do a very good job of getting some of the 2024 um, commits on the show. We had Luke Crummenhawk, the QB, on last week. Um, and we're going to have his should be future teammate for Florida State, um, Camdon Frier, on. But they also play on a 7-on-7 team together. Uh, they they seem to have hit it off right off the bat. They also both hit it off with Cam Davis. And when you talk about those three in particular, when you talk about Camden being a true number one wide receiver, you talk about Cam Davis being a true number one running back, and you talk about Luke Crummenhawk being a QB1, 2024 measures up and could be Coach Norvell's best recruiting class in the history of his head coaching tenure, not only at Florida State, but ever since he started head coaching. So Tribe 24 is very special to what Florida State's future looks like. And it all sits with these young men that are coming into this class for 2024. Because in 2024, you lose so many key players off of the current roster. This is Jordan Travis's last year, Johnny's last year, potentially Benson's last year, and then so on and so on. There's many more that Pittman and et cetera that you could name that this will be their last year. So then we start really hoping that the 22 guys and the 23 guys start being able to take up those roles because they're going to be wide open. So it's one of those transition years to where the ball club needs to do good enough to win enough games to keep relevant as far as recruiting goes. But then when 2024's guys comes in, it really starts to shape back up into a reload versus a rebuild. It'll somewhat feel like a little bit of a rebuild in 2024 when they come in because you can't expect true freshmen across the board to make a huge impact. So it's going to be huge for Florida State in the very near future of what Florida State football looks like. And it all sits in the hands of these young men. And it seems like none of these young men are shy of pressure because the amount of pressure that this is going to be, not only for the coaching staff, but for these young men, for them not to even bat an eye at it, it's absolutely amazing. So without continuing to somewhat ramble on, I'm going to bring Tony, Primetime 2121 is going to be a special host this evening, and we're going to bring Camden on and start getting this interview moving. And if y'all have any comments or questions, all you have to do is comment on YouTube, and if I can get your question in, I definitely will. So if you feel free to start commenting your questions toward Camden, and we'll get this thing started. Prime, we got you. Camden, we got you.
What's up?
Man, to be honest with you, I've been excited about ever since you told me the other day that you could do the interview. As you know, we had Luke on last week, and Luke expressed to me that he had a good time, and it didn't even really feel like an interview. It felt like a conversation, and that's kind of our whole vibe on Spearatics. So I'm hoping that we make you just as comfortable and you have a good time doing it.
Oh, for sure. I appreciate y'all having me.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to start out a little bit with a little bit of your background. Camden is a legacy recruit. And one of my first questions to Camden is because his pops went here, and I believe your uncle.
Yes, sir.
So with his father and his uncle coming to Florida State, and obviously the tremendous things that they did for Florida State. I know a lot of things about what his pops did because my dad used to play Pop Warner with him and also middle school ball. And I want to say a little bit of high school ball with Camden's dad. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, my dad was texting me just a minute ago, and he was like, "Well, have you told him yet? Have you told him yet?" And I was like, "No, I haven't. I haven't said anything." So literally, my phone blinked, and I saw it was my dad. Did you tell him yet? So I figured I'd tell you before I forgot again.
That's cool. So what's his name? I'm gonna tell my dad after this is over.
Mark Frazier.
Okay. Yes, sir. That sounds familiar to me, honestly.
I
But
think they
okay.
played baseball and football together. My dad played for Coca-Cola. I guess that was a thing back in that time, but they played on Coca-Cola's team together or something. But I don't want to misquote what teams they played on, but I'm pretty sure that's what he said.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, he's from around where your dad's from. They played together, so that was really cool. But my question to you is about this before I nerd out on both of our fathers. Um, has Florida State made it more about what you, as in Camden, is going to do here at Florida State more so than trying to make it about you being a legacy?
They've done that since day one, and that's what I really appreciate because, going into high school football, I was like, I love Florida State, but I'm not quite sure what, you know, just this recruiting thing has in store for me, and I don't want to go there just because of my dad. Um, so my older brother, he could have went to school at Florida State. He could have played baseball at Florida State, but he decided not to because he did not want to go to just because of my dad. And and so glad that he did that. So I had that in my mind, and I had that in my mind. It's like I'm not going to be biased. Just any school that comes my way, I'm going to be fully open to any of them. And Florida State's not going to be over any other school in the nation. And but they were the first school to come to me, and Coach Dugans came to me and spoke to me. He says, yes, I know who your father is, but no, I don't care who your father was because your father can't be on that football field. It's you. And first conversation I had with Coach Norvell, that's what he said. He said, I love your dad, I respect your dad, but I don't care who he is or what he does. I just care about Camden Frier. And that meant a lot to me because I didn't want, I love my dad, but I want to make my own path, and
Right.
I want to do my own thing. And I know that sounds funny because I'm committed to the same college, but just it's Florida State. I mean, it's just there's something special about it in my eyes. I mean, I don't care what my dad thinks about it, and he tries his best not to persuade me, but it's just the Nolan that does it. But he tells me he didn't care where I went, but he likes Florida State, but. No, so that means a lot to me that they don't really care who he was, and they just want to just focus on Camden Frier. So that means a lot to me.
Yeah, it's got to be a great feeling to know that the coaching staff is worried about Camden and nobody else. It's not about making anyone else happy or getting anyone else to where they need to be. It's about getting you where you need to be.
Yes, sir.
Prime, if you want to go ahead and ask your question, go ahead, buddy, and then we'll get it continuing on. Can't hear you. Probably have to take the headphones out because I can't hear you. Not at all. So while he's trying to figure that out, Camden, James Coleman, which is usually my co-host on the show, he's down in Tampa at an event, and he couldn't get away from all the noise to be able to get on here. So he was on here with Luke when we had his interview. But his question, I'm going to go to it real quick. His question to you was, it's kind of similar to what we was talking about, but what is it like in the back of your mind following in your dad's footsteps going to Florida State? Are you worried about anything in particular because of that, or?
So at first I was. At first, I didn't want. I didn't want to be known as Matt Frier's son. I didn't. So, that worried me a little bit. But when I think back at it, the only ties that he has still there is, Coach Haggard, Coach Odell. And when I think, and maybe Coach Seeger. But besides them, it's just not picking on my dad, but 1993 is a long time ago. So it's just different. It's still the great same Florida State that it was, but just different people now. So
Right.
I'm not too worried about you know Matt Frier, and just I was a little bit, but the more I think about it, I thought about that because offer and commit was a year apart. So that whole time I was thinking about that because at first I was like, man, that's awesome. I don't want to be known as Matt Frier's son, but
Right.
I thought about it for that whole time that I was uncommitted, and it just felt right. And, I just kept going back, and they just kept pursuing me harder and harder and harder, and so it didn't feel like they were pursuing me because I was Matt Frier's son.
Right. So you had offers from those like of Alabama, Kentucky, stuff to that nature. What was I don't know if you visited both of those schools or not, but what was the difference in Florida State's visits versus some other? You don't have to name them, but some other visits that you went on. What stood out about Florida State?
It's probably the most personal school I've ever been to. It's not probably, actually, it's definitely most personal. Just the most down deep personal. You're not steady talking about football the whole time. They want to know about your life. They want to know about your at home life. They talk about baseball a lot because that's important to me. Me and Coach Dugans, we talk about our walk in faith together. We discipleship together. So it just feels more personal and it's more comforting, honestly. And so it makes it feel more like a home type thing, to where it's like a home away from home. And every time I'm there, I'm so just loose. I'm just relaxed. I'm not up tense. I can it's just something that you want to do. You don't want to be up tense, and when you go to your college, wherever you go to college, and you don't want to. But at the same time, they're going to they're going to get on your tail, and they're going to do what you need to do to become better. And I
Right.
love that about them. But at the same time, it just feels like a home away from home, and I'm not even there yet.
Gotcha. And kind of a little bit of a background, so you know. So I was recruited by Mike Martin Sr. for baseball,
Yes, sir.
and I grew up a Florida State fan. My grandmother was full-blooded Seminole Indian, so I had no choice in the matter. But the only school that mattered to me about getting an offer from was Florida State. Luckily for me, because I think I would have been in your shoes as well, wondering about if my dad would have been there and I would have been a legacy recruit myself. I probably would have had second thoughts about it. But it seems like that Coach Norvell and Coach Dugans and other parts of the staff have done such a great job on making sure that Camden knows that you're what matters. It's not about what the past held or what anyone else done at Florida State, but what you can accomplish for yourself at Florida State. So I'm extremely excited to hear that. And another thing that I want to talk to you about, which I talked to Luke about it as well, and what's really unique about the Tribe 24 class is that not one of you have brought up NIL or money, not one. And I have interviewed, not particularly like this, but I've had Q&As, I've had face-to-face conversations. Not one Tribe 24 kid has asked anything about money at Florida State. How come NIL or money isn't a concern for you coming to Florida State?
Um, because so first off, I'm gonna say, um, I know some people don't like it. I think it's pretty cool. I feel like us athletes are blessed to be able to have the opportunity. Um, but at the same time, that's not why we're there. That's not why that's not why we're showing up. It's just, I guess it's just a perk. But at the same time, we can't let it get, we can't block us from our main goal. And our main goal is to bring another national championship to this school. And, NIL could definitely prohibit you from doing that because you can be too worried about it, too worried about other things. So, I'm glad to hear that about Luke and Cam, but at the same time, that doesn't surprise me because probably about a year ago, me and Coach Norvell had a conversation in his office. He goes, Camden, I think there was only like 3 or 4 of us committed at the time. He goes, Camden, I've turned down 4s and 5 stars because, they're just not us. They're just not what Florida State wants. And it's hard. He said it's so hard because they're good ball players, but we're getting what we need for our program and what we need for our culture. And it shows. I mean, what you just said shows. But also at the same time, we've had a conversation with coaches and the NIL specialists on staff, and they're going to take care of us. So we're not too worried about it. We're not too worried about it. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, and main reason we're there is for football. So we just want to enjoy football.
So another question that I have for you is obviously you're a two-sport athlete, and with you being a two-sport athlete, baseball being the other sport, what is it like for you to talk to Coach Link, and are you pursuing to play baseball and football at Florida State?
So yes, I am pursuing to play baseball and football. I actually I got offered to play baseball by probably 6 Power 5 schools when I was in 8th grade. That's just where I stood out first, baseball. And but I told all of them I wanted to play football. So then all of them kind of halfway had to withdraw it because they like, hey, we want you. Let us know when you get that football offer, and bam, you're gonna play for us. But Florida State was one of them schools. And every time they'd be like, man, every time I talk to Coach Metcalf, which was the recruiting coordinator, and then, Coach Martin, they'd be like, are you sure you want to play football? Because if not, we're ready for you. But then they tell me, but if you really want to, just let us know when you get that football offer because we want you on board. So, but now getting to speak to Coach Jarrett, I spoke to him on the phone once or twice beforehand, but it was in January where I first got to meet him in person. Really down to earth coach. I loved what he's about, and it was really nice meeting him. We started strong. We're not going through the best time right now, which sucks. But I feel like Coach and the guys can pull it out and start going back on a rising slope because I believe in Coach Jarrett, and I'm glad I got to meet him. It was a good conversation with him, and he totally respects the two-sport thing, just like Coach Norvell totally respects the two-sport thing. So I'm very excited because I love football, but I also do love baseball, and I feel like it just one makes me hunger for the other one more. So it just makes me just play harder and enjoy it more.
That's great to hear. What position do you play in baseball, or do you play multiple?
Anywhere in the outfield, preferably center, but I have a pretty strong arm, so I do get put in right sometimes. So it depends either way. Center or right field mostly is where I play. I'm not accurate enough to pitch or nothing, but yeah, I all my travel ball coaches, all my middle and all my school coaches, they just said I got too fast to play infield. So, which I like it. It's not too much different from tracking down a 9-ball for football. So I like it. It's not too difficult to get back into the swing of things in the defensive part of baseball after playing a couple months of football.
Yeah, so me being a baseball guy from that's what sport I played. A lot of people don't understand, if you have the opportunity to play football or baseball, why anyone would ever pick baseball. And I try to explain to people how much fun baseball actually is.
It's fun. It's fun.
And a lot of people get lost in, football is the true American sport and all this. And I'm like, well, baseball was invented by America. So not saying that football wasn't. I'm just stating that to me, man, nothing like going to a ballpark and playing baseball. So I'm really happy to hear that you're going to get the opportunity to play both. Obviously, you know of some of the greats that came here and played both.
I was at NFC the other day. I was at they named it Posey Field, so I was there the other day playing against them.
Really?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Have you ever met Buster?
No, sir. I've not. But I had for probably 5 years. I had a poster of him up in my room.
Well, I'm quite older than you are, and I had a poster of him as well. So I completely get it. I've had the blessing of in my life to get to meet Buster twice when he came back to Florida State, and he's one of the most genuine. He's everything that you would think he would be. A lot of people tell you don't meet your heroes or people that you think are famous because they'll disappoint you. I have yet to meet one Seminole that has disappointed me. They all do a very good job, and so we'll make sure that Buster gets to meet you because I don't know how to explain Buster other than he's one of the most exciting people to be around, yet he's extremely laid back.
Oh
at
yeah,
the
for
frame
sure.
of that time.
For sure.
But we'll move on to a little bit about yours and Luke's and Cam's relationship, how it kind of kicked off as fast as it did. Um, give a little bit of background on when you first, if you can remember, when you first met Luke and how that experience was.
So I first met Luke. We did one of these with another media company, another Florida State media
You
company,
were on
and
No Game Day.
yes, sir. And we were talking about this. I'm trying to remember again, but I think we went to a Florida State football camp over the summer, and we first met each other then. And just right off the bat, both of our dads are real talkative guys, the real talkative people. So they kind of broke the ice for us, which was nice. And then me and Luke just hit it off. We just started talking ball and just started, chopping it up about how much we love Florida State and why we love Florida State, and we love it for the same reasons. And it was real nice. And that first workout we had together just went off. Honestly, I think we kind of blew up on Twitter over our connection. I mean, I ain't never had a quarterback throw me the ball like that day, and I was blown away. I was blown away, and I was plumb excited. And so it was a good first connection, and then met a couple more times throughout the season, stuff like that. And then his dad hit us up. We had about 7-on-7 team, and we only got to play I think 3 tournaments. We had one that got canceled. It was supposed to be a big tournament in Savannah, where he lives, but it went fairly well. And so we got a pretty good relationship for people who live 5+ hours away.
Right.
Yeah. So, but when we do get to see each other, it's like we've known each other for longer than we have, and it's just he's a cool dude. He's easy to be around. Loves the freaking game, and that's why I love him. And
Gotcha.
he's just a stand-up dude.
Yeah, I told Luke on the episode that he was on with us is that at one point there was a picture of y'all. I think y'all were standing side by side at one of the 7-on-7 games, and we posted on our group page on Facebook, and a lady asked us, one of the fans, was asking us if y'all were brothers, and me knowing that y'all weren't and who y'all are, I got a pretty good laugh out of it because I could see why someone would ask the question because y'all were standing in a similar stance. Both of y'all had the same determined look on your face, like y'all were ready to get back out there doing what y'all do. So I could see why the question was asked. But
That's cool. That's cool. Honestly, I mean, I've never really thought of it like that. Maybe if I saw that picture, I can maybe agree with her. But that's funny. That's cool.
yeah, a lot of the fans that we have at Florida State, they know of your father, they know of your uncle. I don't want to make it sound like Florida State fans are stalkers or anything, but Florida State fans have been following as far as your career goes for quite some time because there's multiple people that write me on Twitter or write me on Instagram and Facebook saying, that you made there's recordings sent to me about a catch that you made or a ball that you ran down or how well you're hitting in high school baseball or whatever have it. And they were all talking about what you got. I don't know if you want to tell your dad this or not, but right now there's a poll on Discord is, are you a better athlete than your dad was? And right now you're winning 84% of the vote. So
That's crazy. No, honestly, my dad would agree to that. My dad, he had to work hard. He was coming out of high school. He was slow. He really was. And he finally ended up hitting the 4.4s during his combine. But he was. I mean, I was blessed. Honestly, I had my mom with a TCC. She holds stolen base records at TCC, so I got my speed from her. And so I was blessed with the athletic ability that he didn't have. But no one is mentally stronger than my dad. And to this day, that's where I try to aspire to be because I'm an emotional ball player, and that's something that I've always had to. Sometimes it does me good things. Sometimes, I'm like, dang, people are like, hey, Cam, you got to chill out a little bit. But, just no one's ever been as mentally strong as him, and that's what got him so far. But, no, I think he'd agree with that. He just wasn't physically gifted as I was.
it it's kind of the same way. Like we've got quite a few legacy recruits that have came through Florida State, and like we've got Aaron Hester that's here at Florida State now. Um, we've got quite a few that are legacy recruits at Florida State, and it seems like all of the sons or nephews are better athletes than their fathers or uncles were.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's great for us now, obviously, but um, something that I wanted to touch on is Luke has taken it very personal to recruit guys to the 24 class. And before the show started, I was talking to you a little bit about how I had personally done some Q&As and interviews with some potential commits that are coming to Florida State. And they had said when they ran across you, BJ being one of them, said that you pumped him up so much to want to go check out Florida State that it was the sole reason that he was going to show up because of how you spoke about the school, how you spoke about the staff. Kind of what is your pitch to the guys as Florida State goes? I know now because we had this great season, but you joined Florida State before we ever went on a winning streak. So, one, what made you want to join Florida State? What did you see that made you think we were going to win again? And then what is it that you tell other guys that you're trying to get here?
Well, honestly, it's the same thing. So I'll tell you. So what made me want to dive into this as early as I did, which is also what I tell people, and this is what I told BJ. And BJ, I don't think he'd popped off just then. Like, I knew he was a good ball player, but like social media wise, offer wise, I don't think he had it just yet. Now he does, but
Right.
back then, not as quite as. I think I just got out there a little earlier than he did, but now he's up there. Shoot, I don't know. He may have more offers than me, but at the same time, I feel like committing doesn't help. Offers don't really matter to me at the moment no more. But what reason I committed to early, what I told BJ, what I'm telling these other guys, like I was telling you earlier, it is a home away from home. It really is. I mean, it is. There's no place like it. I mean, you got to sit down and have a conversation with Coach Norvell. He's the most energetic person you've ever met. But also he's down to make people tell you the truth. He's not going to lie to you, but he wants the best for you. And he cares about your family. He cares about your school. He cares about my baseball, so he'd care about Cam's baseball, BJ's baseball if BJ were to commit here. He on and off the field. Coach Dugan's, me and Coach Norvell probably text once a week. I was texting him probably an hour ago. Me and Coach Dugan's probably text 3 times a week. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're committed or not. They're still going, which I guess if you're committed, they're not pursuing you anymore, but they're still going to check up on you, see how you're doing. They want to know how you're doing. If I do something big in baseball, they text me. They know about it. I mean, it's just, and it feels like you're almost already there. And it's nice to have, just that relationship when you don't even get to see them every day. So just imagine when you get to see them every day, what it's going to be like. And I feel like that's what these people are, getting a taste of. BJ, I don't think he had no clue what Florida State was like. And now he's like, dang, this place is legit. Landon, Thomas, he keeps coming back. He was there today, right?
Yep.
He keeps coming back. He's committed to Georgia. He keeps coming back because he knows. I told him. He knows what the deal is. And, he's just still trying to convince himself. And I think he's going to do it. I hope he's going to do it. Because he wouldn't be coming back. I mean, he wouldn't be coming back several times. Like, it's just – Cam and Luke know it. And, the other commits that we have know it. I mean, it's just there ain't – because Cam and Luke, they get around. They get around, especially before they committed. They got around. And there ain't nothing like it, really.
What would you say your favorite part tradition wise of Florida State? Did you take in, obviously the war chant's huge. It gives a lot of people the chills, which it does me every time it's played. But what did you think about the Unconquered statue or even the sod cemetery, stuff like that? What do you think about the traditions of Florida State?
My personal favorite is the sod cemetery.
Mine too.
And we had, gosh, I feel bad for Doug Manheimer, is that his
Yep.
name?
Yep.
So, now, is he the one that gave the money? Is he the one that watches over it?
That I don't know.
I think he watches over it. I don't think he gave the money. I think he just watches over it. No, we had a big donor give millions and millions of dollars for Florida State, but he said as long as you set aside this amount of money every year for the sod cemetery, we win our big games, we get our sod. The sod talk. My dad probably does that once every 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
So I've been in and out of that sod cemetery my whole life, and
Right.
every time I go there, I look at that '93 national championship. It's just I've been inside of it like probably 4 or 5 times, and that's just my favorite thing. I like this. I like grabbing a piece of another team's side and bringing it home. My dad, when they beat Florida, and Doug told my dad to go get the side. He went and he got I'm trying to remember the names of the players. I think he got William Floyd and another, I think a Hall of Fame pro football player, just 2 of the baddest dudes on the planet. He's like, hey, I need y'all to protect me because these Gators are gonna kill me when I get this side. And they did. No one touched him, and he got his side, and they got out of there. And I would say that's probably a little more personal to me,
Right.
the side cemetery than other things. But that's probably one of my favorite traditions. And but also unconquered statue, the war chant, like gives me chills too, especially when we got a packed out stadium.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I don't know if you've been seeing these things, but 24/7 or 247 Sports, they've been doing all these polls in the off season, like who's got the best traditions, who's got the best stadium, who's got the best helmet, stuff like that. Florida State's been top 10 on almost every single one.
Yep.
And there's a reason for that. Doak is just there ain't no place like it. Personally, I think it's the most cool stadium in the nation. People are gonna have their own opinions, but no, just the tradition is unreal. It's not like any other school. And I've especially when my earlier high school years, I got around because it's an experience, and it's something that you never get to do. So I haven't experienced nothing like it.
Prime, let's see if your mic will work now, buddy, and see if you can ask a question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, sweet. Hey, Camden, what's up? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing well. I am super excited about the relationship that you and Luke and Cam have. Like, I love it. I think you guys are awesome. What is the relationship like between you guys? Are you guys communicating all the time? Are you guys trying to get like other guys into the fold? Like, hey, we see this guy, he's interested in Florida State. Like Lester and any other position guys. Are you guys trying to like really build this class? And again, what's the relationship between you guys?
So I will say I do think Luke's taking up a bigger role than me and Cam are right now, because we are in baseball season. I think Luke is getting out a little more than me and Cam are, but I'm still trying to do my thing here and there. So is Cam. I feel like he is. But we communicate probably once every week or 2-ish, just about certain things, especially if Derek Ray, he feels that we're getting close on somebody. He'll send us that dude's number. He's like, hey man, text this dude. We feel like we're fixing to get him, pump him up, tell us why you love it. Tell him why you love it, and we'll do it. And we got a 24 group chat with our pumped him up. We just said, well, get out there a little more. But at the same time, I am doing baseball season. But Luke, I feel like he's kind of our leader in that aspect, and and he's already taken that leader aspect as a quarterback, which I'm loving.
Camden, are you going to be able to come to the spring game?
Me and my parents are talking about it today. We are not quite sure yet. We hope so.
Okay. Well, we'll keep hoping that you get to. If y'all do get to, James Coleman and I, which he played at Florida State. He was a fullback at Florida State from 01 to 05. We hold a tailgate for every home game and also every spring game every year. Our tailgate will be in lot 6. Michael Alford, the athletic director, he's going to come through there. Just a multitude of old Knowles, they'll be there. So if y'all want to swing through there, and we got all the food you can eat, all the beverages y'all could want. Just make sure that y'all come check us out in Lot 6 if you do get to come.
Lot 6. I'll tell my parents if we go, which I hope we do, we'll definitely show up.
Yeah, and if y'all need any, how far is it for y'all to get to Tallahassee?
Hour and a half, hour 45. It's not too bad.
I got you. Well, we definitely hope to see you there. I know that Luke's coming. I think we got confirmation that Cam's going to make it. I'm not positive, but there are quite a few, like Zandamela, he's coming. There's quite a few of the guys that are coming, and a lot of people are taking their visits the day before the spring game and also during the spring game.
Yeah. Do you have a guy like Brandon Baker, who's the number 1 offensive tackle in the country, who is going to be there April 11th? Like, that's a pretty big deal for, like, that might be a guy you want to come talk to.
Oh yeah, I gotta speak to him. Then I gotta speak to him.
It's like what Camden said. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you can. I will say, in January when me and Luke were there together, we took pictures. Landon was there with us, and which shoot, dude was tall as freak. But Luke was in one ear, I was in the other ear. We were just spitting at him all day. And he had a good day. I know for a fact he had a good day. He was smiling. He was loving it. He kept on. He was trying to be cool about it, but he was too giddy. I could tell.
And that's what I was going to ask you next. So it's kind of cool that you jumped into that. Have you been around recruits like Landon that you're talking about? Have you been around recruits when you just know, you just kind of can tell, you're going to come here, quit playing? I mean, I know y'all probably don't say that, but you kind of get that giddiness out of them, so you kind of feel like they're really enjoying it.
Oh yeah, Landon's probably one of them. I haven't face to face. I haven't spoken to BJ in a long time. Charles Lester, I met him in person about a year ago. He was taking a visit, and I was doing a 7-on-7. My school was, and it was Florida State was hosting it, and so they brought him out to the rec fields just to communicate with me, and I was selling him, and he seemed like he liked it, and then and then me and Luke FaceTimed him. Coach Tony was there, and we got Luke on a FaceTime call while me and Charles were there. We got to speak to Charles that day, so that was a good day. I feel like that went fairly well. And then I know y'all saw that post about him in his Florida State gear when he was a young child.
Yep.
So that makes you wonder.
Yep. My other question for you is, and this is from one of the fans that wrote a text message to me. The question was, do you have a former favorite Knoll that played football and baseball? Or not that they played both, but who's your baseball and who's your football player?
Oh, so I'm going to leave my dad out of this. And then, shoot. I guess I'm going to say Buster Posey. I was a catcher as a child, so I looked up to him a lot. And like you just proved it, he's a good dude. He's not just some baseball players. They're not sometimes, especially they're not all the most modest dudes in the world. So just having to do a Buster, that's nice to hear from you.
Yep.
So Buster's probably my favorite baseball player. Football player. Gosh, that's tough. I don't know.
This one's a struggle. I have the same problem.
I guess I'm gonna say just because of my dad, I kind of knew of the older players. But I guess just as a growing up standpoint, I couldn't. I had never been so tuned in as a child. Ever since we got Cam Akers. I watched every single game and just watched. Because I also, at that point in time, I played running back. I played running back till I got to high school.
Okay.
And I'll probably be a little bit in the backfield this year. So I was a running back, and I'm like, oh, this dude's name's Cam. He's cool. But and all of a sudden, watching him play, I was like, dang, I was never so tuned in as a child, at least,
Right.
to a Florida State football game. So I guess I'm going to have to say them two guys.
It's hard to say that there's a bad pick, to be completely honest with you. And the part of the question was, I know he's not going to say his dad, but your dad was a huge fan favorite for a lot. This fan in particular said that they had season tickets during Matt Frier's season at FSU. He was a great player. We get that all the time, as far as what Matt was. Is there anyone that's currently on the team, player-wise, that you talk to or have talked to that you seem to get along with, or have you had that opportunity?
A little bit. So actually, the reason I got to speak to him so much is he was hurt. So, and he was there. I was at a camp one day. Me and him chopped it up all day long. And he's a guy. He hasn't been on the field a whole bunch yet. His name is Josh. He's a receiver. His name's Josh. Starts with a B.
Burrell. Yeah.
He was a cool dude to get to know. Because most of the guys they were at home and he was still there. And so I got to speak to him and he was helping me with a thing or two with my routes. And it was nice to be able to have someone to help me that day. So it was nice to speak to him. And that's Shaheem Brown. He went to my high school.
Yep.
Me and him kind of know of each other. Haven't got to really chop it up yet. Jaheim Bell, his uncle was my recruiting coordinator for my high school. We had Dugans and Norvell and JP showing up to my high school just for Jaheim. Like they were they say, hey to me, all right, Camden, we can't see you no longer. It's 5 minutes. Our 5 minutes is up. We're fixing to talk about Jaheim. I said, y'all go ahead. Y'all get him. I personally do not know Jaheim, but it's just kind of a little connection that we have through my football coach. And personally not too much yet, but that's one that Josh is probably the most so far.
I got you. Well, go ahead.
I got to jump off, but Camden, I'm excited for you to come to FSU. I feel like Norvell and company have put together a great group of kids to come into FSU that understand the tradition, the logo, and what it means. And I'm super excited for you to get on campus. And thank you for coming out and answering some questions from us tonight.
Of course, I appreciate you. Yes, sir, I appreciate you.
Prom, I'm glad you got to come on and ask. I was worried for a minute, man. It kept.
I know, it was weird.
When you were on here, it kept saying server lost, and it would blink, so it wouldn't let me add you to the screen. It does that with phones sometimes, so I don't know what it is, but appreciate you coming on and asking the questions. Prom, I'm going to continue, and we'll see you later. So Prom's a guy. He's been a Florida State fan since '88. The gentleman that was just on here. He's starting up to do interviews and stuff to that nature. A little bit of background. Spearatics, I started it right at 2 years ago now. And we started off as a Facebook group page because this is when Florida State was really at their downward tenure. We weren't doing great. And I knew people were going to start, probably talking really bad about Florida State in a whole. And I wanted there to be a place for people to go and intelligently speak on how this situation gets fixed, not just bash the program over and over again.
Of course.
So, y'all as players and the coaches, as us as fans and the program itself, everyone holds y'all at such a high standard that y'all have to do so well or et cetera. So my thoughts is we were going to be the thing that kept the fans at a high standard and kept the class and the support going. And lucky for us, it really blew up, and it's became something much larger than I ever expected. So I'm excited to do what I'm doing and have gentlemen on like yourself and Luke and a guy that I want to introduce you to that currently plays at Florida State. I don't know how you feel about like graffiti and art and stuff like that, but one of the biggest gentleman on the team, Robert Scott Jr.
I knew you were gonna say that as soon as you said about the graffiti.
Yep. He's really, me and him have a really, really good relationship. And if you do get to come and it don't matter if we don't see you at the spring game because you're going to be there for years to come. And I promise you, you will not see me. So I will make sure that you get introduced to Rob because he's the guy that I get all of the young guys, if they'll listen to me, to go to because he literally puts everyone and anyone under his wing and helps them with every aspect of being at Florida State.
I've seen it. There's been a whole climb episode about him, and I've watched it. And no, he looks like just an amazing person to be around.
Yeah, and his shoe designs, which he just started his shoe company, so you might want to check those out too. He's got it on his Instagram page now, but he customized the Air Force ones that he did. He did one for Dugan's, as a matter of fact.
Me and Coach Dugan's, we like our shoes. I'm actually, it may not seem like it, but I'm a little bit of a sneakerhead myself. So I'm going to go on that right now.
Do you have a favorite shoe?
So my favorite shoe that I own is a Jordan 1. And I know it seems like such a classic, everyone's favorite shoe. But I don't know. I love shoes, but at the same time, I don't want, something too crazy. So I got the Jordan 1 Obsidian UNCs. Yep. They're and I love them. I got a pair of 12s that I love. I got some Dunks that I love. I got some 11s that I love. But at the same time, I love my ones.
Yeah. So, and I will say this to your defense: ones aren't usually everyone's favorite. It's usually the 11s and the 4s, I think, was what most people go for. So I actually think you're kind of unique in which one's your favorite. And a question about this, I know that you don't play like high school basketball or nothing, but what do you think about, did you get to see any of the past stuff about Michael Jordan, and what do you think about him as an athlete?
Oh, I mean, I watched The Last Dance probably 3 times over. I just, that mentality that he has, that's something that I aspire to have. And talking about go talk, I respect LeBron, but, he's always going to be my goat. So it's just, on a football, baseball standpoint, I'm inspired to be like him. And, just him being the face of probably my favorite shoe brand.
Yep.
It's just, it's just something cool.
I 100% agree with you. So Jordan's my goat as well. I get LeBron, and I trust me, and God rest his soul, and Kobe Bryant, but Jordan, I just don't. He's invincible to me. I never saw anybody, and the rules were so much harsh back when he played versus what they are now. So I think it would be even better in this current era, as far as scoring goes. But the only other question that I have that I want to really ask you about Florida State, what was it like the first time that you stepped on the Doak? Which as a recruit, I'm pretty sure you stepped on Doak when you were a kid, but when you stepped on the field at Doak Cam when you knew this is where you were going to be, what was that like?
So the first time I did it as a recruit, non-committed, I was like, dang, this place is cool. I mean, I've always loved this place, but it's just a little different now. It's a little different. I have the opportunity to come here, so I really got to think about this. And then it was a neat experience. But the first time I stepped on committed, so I told, because I wanted to have like a special day that day. So I told Coach Norvell the day before I showed up, which none of y'all found out till that day. But that night before I showed up last year in 2022 in January, I told Coach Norvell, Coach Dugan, like, hey, I'm committing. So it was where as soon as I opened the door, it's like it was a surprise birthday party. The whole coaching staff, several players, trainers, like anyone you can think of, was just clapping. Just like they did the chant. Like it was just unreal. Like my dad started tearing up, like he couldn't believe it. So then I stepped on the field that day, and I was like, yeah, this is where I need to be. And this was before our breakout season. This was before that season that we had. And I was like, this is where I need to be. Um, this I already know this is where I want to spend my college career. And so it's a different feeling. I still get chills every time I step on that turf down there. I mean, it's just a different feeling than any other college stadium I've been in.
Well, that's absolutely amazing to hear. And I kind of told you a fib because I do have one last question for you before you go.
It's all right. I'm enjoying this.
The last question I have for you, and we can continue to talk. I have no problem with that. But the last question that I have for you, I asked Luke, and it was his last question. What are you thinking about majoring in at Florida State?
So, what did Luke say? I know what I'm going to say, but I want to say what did Luke say?
So I'm telling off on Luke. He said, I'm pretty sure his answer was business.
Okay, cool. That's what I was thinking. That's what I thought he was going to say. So my dad sells mobile homes, and I've always been real interested in his, the blueprints and mobile homes and stuff like that. And I've kind of looked in that somewhere in the mechanical engineering,
Yep.
Architectures type thing. So that's always kind of what I've been pointed to. But at the same time, it's I've always kind of also leaned towards the business marketing side of it. Just being able to just grasp that type of thing. My dad's been able to teach me a lot about that. And he told me how much he enjoyed just the school part of Florida State and, just what he learned there. So I'm not quite sure, but it's somewhere in the lines of them two degrees right there.
Okay.
And so that's probably what it is.
Well, both of those are extremely great picks, and both at Florida State are pristine programs, and those degrees will hold a lot of weight, whichever one you decide, or if you decide on another one. But I will say, I don't know why I had a feeling off of the art side when you said architect. That's why I brought up Robert Scott, because I had a feeling that that you liked the type of art or something to that nature. So it was a good fit. That was just something I kind of read off of. I guess with this season coming up, we have extreme high expectations for Florida State this year because of everyone that returned and the adding of Jaheim Bell and some others. You don't have to give me a record prediction, but do you think Florida State has a great opportunity to make it to the playoffs this year?
I do. Which last year I was like, no, they're gonna have a great season, and most people didn't believe me, and they did. But at the same time, just going to their first spring practice, or no, it wasn't their first spring. It was their first one in pads. Okay. It's like, dang, I want to be a part of this thing. This is something special. And, just kind of listening on interviews the players and Coach Norvell's having throughout this spring, I feel like they have a top shot. And, there's rankings and stuff. Some of them say yes, some of them say no. But personally, I think we are a real contender for the playoff spot. So I'm only God can tell what will happen, but
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna put my bets in that they're gonna be a real top contender for that.
Well, me and you are right on board with each other. So my wife actually has a question for you, and it was, what game are you most excited to see this year?
Let me so I'm gonna rule out Miami. I'm gonna rule out Florida. Cool. It's definitely Florida, but I'm gonna rule out them too. My dad, actually, funny story. My dad, he hates Miami more than he hates Florida, and we were killing. I think I've always hated Florida more because in my era, Florida's been better than Miami. But my dad, with his era, he hates Miami. He can't stand it, and I think he told me back, he goes, man, I'd rather you go be a Gator than a dang Miami. So, but we were killing Miami, and it was the fourth quarter, and I think my little brother told him the final score, and he was mad at my little brother because my dad, he always ends up taping the game, getting a little late, and he's like, hey, why'd you tell him? I'm like, Dad, you're in the fourth quarter, we're winning by such and such. I mean, like, it's over. He goes, no, I want to see us beat them in the ground. because I hated them. He said, I'm going to watch every last second of this. And he did. And but that was just a quick little funny story. But shoot, I've already looked at the schedule. So Duke, their starting running back, I played high school with my freshman year.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if he started or he is he's in the race for starting. His name is Jacquez Moore. He's a heck of a running back.
Yep.
So I'm definitely going to that game so I can watch him because he was actually my quarterback my freshman year, and I wouldn't have got my offer so early without him. I mean, he was a running back, but he could toss the rock, and he helped, and he was just a mentor to me in so many ways. So I'm definitely going to be there for the Duke game just to be able to watch that.
So you're going to put yourself in the situation to be rooting for him, but rooting against him at the same time.
Yeah, I want Florida State to beat their tail, but I want Jacquez to have a solid game.
I love it.
But at the same time, I don't want our defense to let up too many things. So Jacquez, if you're seeing this, I'm sorry, buddy. But looking at the schedule, shoot. Oh, well, I almost don't want to say Clemson because it's not at Doak.
Right.
I mean, not Clemson, not at Clemson. I mean, LSU, because that's going to be a big game. I guess I'm going to have to say, besides Florida, gosh, I want to be LSU. Gosh, I want to be LSU. I guess that's what it's going to have to be for me. And I hate that it's not at Doak, but it's one of them neutral games. So if we can pull out another win against, which I think we can, against LSU again, which is they ended off higher than we did in the end of the season, didn't they?
I believe so. I think they're ranked one spot ahead of us.
So I guess they're going to be salty because of last year.
Yep.
One of the only teams that beat them throughout the whole season. So, shoot, I'm gonna be ready for that one.
Yeah, if y'all get to come to that one, Camden, we have pretty much all of Church Street paid for. It'll be our largest tailgate of the season. So if y'all come through there and y'all need a place to eat and have fun before the game, y'all are more than welcome to come for free. To any of our tailgates, all of the former Noles, current Noles, and future Noles come 100% for free, and y'all can eat, drink, whatever you want to do. So if y'all get to come to it, please just hit me up on Twitter or text me or whatever you got to be able to contact me, and we'll make sure that you get in. And
for sure. My dad's actually right there. I'm in our pool house right now. I live in the country, so the service is a little better out here. But I think we've talked about going to that game, so that'll be nice. Also, if we do, I'll hit you up.
All right, buddy. Well, I hope to see you at the spring game. I'll be at pretty much every one of the games this season. So if you come to one, hopefully I get to meet you in person. And I appreciate you coming on here and telling us about what you look forward to and why you chose Florida State and your relationships with Luke and Cam and also your relationships with Coach Dugans and Norvell. So I really appreciate the interview. You did a phenomenal job. I wish I told Luke this as well. I wish when I was y'all's age that I presented myself as well as y'all do. Y'all do a phenomenal job. So your parents deserve a lot of kudos, and y'all deserve a lot of kudos for taking all that in and being well presented because y'all do a great job. So
I really appreciate that. I really do.
I appreciate you coming on, and if you ever want to come back on, just hit me up and we'll have you on. But man, I hope you have a great rest of your season. I hope that your football season goes as planned, and can't wait to see you in Garnet Gold for good. And we'll be cheering you on all the way.
Yes, sir. Well, I really appreciate it. Appreciate everything. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Have a good one. Go Noles.
You too.
Everyone, that was 2024 commit Camdon Frier. The